through social media, funnily enough, when you're watching these things collapse in front of you and people screaming and the ground is pitching underneath you like a boat, your eyes are seeing it, but your brain can't comprehend what's going on. It's such a shocking event. Now, during some aftershocks, I was hiding under a table with 20 local people, and there was a young girl who checked her Facebook page and let out this anguished scream. And what she had seen was this iconic tower in the middle of Kathmandu that had collapsed. It's like Big Ben or the Sydney Opera House falling down. And that gave me an idea of the scale of this event and just how big the story was going to be. Here's the kit I had with me on the day, a little bit of kit porn, everyone loves it here. So I had a BJ kit. It was mostly useless. I filmed fantastic footage that did make it to our ABC broadcasts in several days after. But the iPhone was what I needed to rely on because I couldn't send anything out. And of course, as we know, sending and power, the Army talks about critical vulnerabilities. Power and being able to send out the material is your critical vulnerability, and often when it all turns to shite in this kind of situation, those things fly out the window. So the iPhone was core, and how I managed to stand out in my coverage was by using the accessories that we all adore, the olive clips and the shoulder pods, to make it a little bit more impressive, using those high production values as much as possible even in those stressful situations. Batteries will make or break you. The Mophie there was the most important thing I had. There was no power, as I said, for 3 days, and I watched people fighting over power points in hotels that have generator electricity. I also had to make a really important call about whether to make another live stream. There were people who were literally begging me to fire up Periscope again and show them what was going on. For 2 reasons, I decided that was impossible. It drained the battery, and power was the most valuable thing I had on me at that stage. And the other reason was a really strong ethical obligation that I felt. The scenes in that first 2 to 12 hours were often gruesome, and it was too high of a risk for me. As much as I'm in favour of exposing audiences to a little more death and destruction than most mainstream broadcasters think is appropriate, doing that live is completely too risky. And so there was no more live streaming until several days later. This tweet and the fact that it got about 9,000 retweets really shows you the power of imagery, and strong imagery in those first few moments after a big event like that. And that's how, as traditionally trained journalists, we can really stand out from the citizen journalists, once again by sharing those really high quality images that paint a picture. There's also an interesting arc that happens after a natural disaster. The first feelings that people go through are shock and terror. And in social media, I had people reaching out to me saying, my friends are lost, my loved ones are lost in Nepal, can you help me find them? I don't know where to go, I don't know where's safe, where in the country should I head? It was a really kind of, quite an onerous duty, I suppose, but an important one to take into account. Secondly, people want more pictures, they want an idea of what's going on. And then, as people get a bit sick of the death and destruction, things like beauty and love and hope really start to resonate as that disaster arc continues. And suddenly the death and destruction images weren't getting the retweets that these beautiful kind of photos of hope in the midst of the disaster were getting.
Well, this is the town of Bhaktapur that's been so badly destroyed. If you look up here, you can see someone's bed and a teddy bear, as cliched as that is, kind of protruding from the wreckage. They had no chance here. And even if you're lucky enough that your home is still surviving, is still standing, you have to go in to get all your food and your clothes because you're not going to find it anywhere else. So people are risking their lives to go back in and get... Well, this is one of the saddest scenes in Kathmandu right now, but it's also part of normal daily life for the Nepalese people. Here we have an ambulance being cleaned up. It's just delivered bodies to the cremation gaps here on the banks of the river. They're having to burn bodies on the river itself, on this little landmass, because they've run out of platforms. And you can see that a lot of people are just here at this temple complex watching. This is really a ritual that's been part of this culture for many thousands of years.
So just an idea there of how you can exploit your training as a traditional journalist and make, I guess, value add to the product that you're putting out by adding commentary, which is something that as TV journalists we're all used to doing, framing, composing, lighting, just trying to differentiate yourself, I suppose, from the citizen journalist kind of output. And also linking yourself with the brand that you work for so that you're maintaining those quality standards even though you're filing via social media or live streaming. lastly, I think the most important takeaway from all this is to make sure that you involve your audience. Even in these kind of tragic stories, people really, really want to talk and engage with you. The ABC alone, one outlet, raised $5 million from our viewers after the earthquake, so that's an indication of how connected people were. And so I reciprocated that connection by crowdsourcing questions from the audience. When I went back to Nepal 3 months later to see how things were progressing, I said, you donated your money from your pocket. You were interested in this story. So what do you want me to investigate now? And on Twitter, we crowdsourced all the questions that we directly worked into our investigations at the 3-month-long mark. And the most important thing that I think you can do, and the one thing that you need to take away from this example, is the capacity of social media and live streaming to provide that intimate experience. You need to take your audience with you, to say, right now, you are with me right here. I'm going to take you by the hand and take you on this walk around this place, give you a tour of what's going on, the 360 perspective of what I can see. That's something that we haven't been able to do as traditional broadcasters, being able to have that two-way relationship with the audience and to give them a very immediate and immersive experience. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is where the ultimate power and potential of social media and live streaming in often these very hostile and complex stories lies.